Hi, everyone. Pastor Galen, lead pastor at Cheyenne Hills Church. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. We hope that these podcasts will be a real encouragement to you on your spiritual journey. You can also connect with Cheyenne Hills at CheyenneHills.org. Hope you enjoy the program.
We are across the street and around the world, Cheyenne Hills.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. We are continuing on Hump Day, and I know it's Hump Day because you said this
camel
is the
hair
camel
sport coat. Yep,
camel hair sport coat. And so you said there's actually a lot of guys in the legislature.
It's a long tradition. Yeah,
and they wear the camel coat, I guess. Do women have anything that's similar? Yeah.
Some of them look really sharp, and it's the same kind of material.
Really?
The thing about this material, too, is it's really warm. So
today it's good.
Yeah, today's good.
And we've had some cold weather. Wow.
But if you've been going really hard for 3 or 4 weeks at this particular point, and you started down there at 6 a.m. and about 8 o'clock after breakfast, you're sitting in one of those warm rooms and you're thinking, all right, I need some coffee.
Yeah, a little too
second hour of a license plate debate or something.
Okay, so where are we at as far as number of weeks in and how much legislature time is left on this clock?
We're about 3.5 weeks in.
Okay.
And last Friday was the last day for bills to be introduced into either the House of Representatives or to the Senate.
Okay.
And so right now we're starting
Lots
to
of
come
things
up
gonna
to
be
some
voted
deadlines.
on. Right.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so anything that doesn't make it past the deadline just dies because it just didn't make it to the next
get in this year.
step.
It'll be
right.
have to go around next year. Okay, so what are some of those things that have made it through that you've been kind of chasing down?
There's some big ones this year.
Awesome.
So first of all, we were able to talk about human as a life as a human right act.
Okay.
And that's one that went through a committee today. And that is a basic pro-life bill. So the trigger bill we worked so hard on last year was enjoined in someone kind of court-shopped until they found just the right judge in Jackson Hole to shoot that down. Of course, it's going to go to the Supreme Court. It's not over yet.
Okay.
This one actually tries to address some of the questions involved with that bill. And so there's a lot of details going on there, and that's very important.
Okay, so if this bill goes through, that you said it's a good pro-life bill, what would it just codify some of the pro-life things we support? Is that what you're saying?
It would actually provide definitions in the statute that could guide a judge in determining different aspects of pro-life law.
Okay.
And some of those are currently missing in law, and so this really tackles it.
Okay, so it's got a committee. It's into the Senate.
It's in the House.
It's in the House.
Yeah.
And do you think it'll pass, or is it going to be close?
I think it will. There are some questions, and I'm working on some of this with a lot of our team outside of the larger coalition trying to help it. Yeah. So we're working hard on it.
Yeah.
So
well, and I know that you being in the studio today is like you've been out in the stream paddling hard, and you just came to the side and came talk to us a little bit.
That's the reason why just getting to talk about the Bible with you has been so good.
That's good. Amen. That's awesome. Well, we're thrilled that you're out in the mainstream of things. So so what else?
A lot of what we've been dealing with is education, and there are several different bills.
Okay.
Several different bills talking about it. Several of them started in the Senate on purpose to try to get them some momentum as they head into the House, because again, sadly this year, the largest hurdle to overcome is the House Education Committee.
Okay.
And so last year and the year before, in spite of some of my counsel, what they did is just tried to start in the House, and of course it died without ever going anywhere.
It never got out of committee, is that correct?
Yeah. Right. This year there's a lot of momentum for some of these bills, but they're all starting in the Senate. And so one of them actually is Senate File 177, promoting it's erasing the educational exception for obscenity. And so it basically, thus far, people have been able to get away with promoting obscenity in schools and in libraries because there is an exemption in the Wyoming statutes. And so people have, it used to be that it was just a basic exemption. People's common sense still ruled. But now we have actual pornography getting in the hands, or it's available for children.
Okay. This is really key. I did an interview with a potential school board member, and he kind of walked me through some of the things. He said, well, this is why, because we've got all these statutes, and he quoted them all. And
right.
it's like, wow, I didn't know. So basically what I thought would be obscenity or pornography, really, in some of these books. He said, well, it didn't pass muster here, here, and here. And I was like, well, who wrote these rules? So is it dealing with those rules?
It does. It deals with those. And that's
huge.
the thing, because your instinct is right. That is obscene literature.
Yeah.
And
no
so
question
anyone
about
who would disagree with it is absolutely wrong. They may try to rest upon the law, a legal definition of it, in the same way that Pharisees used to wrestle the law with Jesus.
Well, yeah.
But it's still obscenity.
It's like you cannot, nobody would ever think, on it comes, never pass a bulletin board test.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Absolutely.
And so the fact that there's some legislation that's coming out to redefine some of those things, that's huge.
Yes.
I did not know that was a part of the plan this year.
That's
great.
one of the things. The other thing too we've been working on is some opportunity to just tighten up the laws and make it more available for people. The charter school legislation. But this is really exciting. So we started 2 bills, one in the House, one in the Senate. They're mirror bills. Okay. And that's because we're tackling this from every angle possible this year. We're trying to make a statement. And it's called the Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. Okay. So the House bill is called the Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. And you know what? Regardless of what happens, I think there's a man that deserves a lot of just approval. His name is Ocean Andrew. He's a representative from outside of Laramie, Wyoming. Okay. Ocean Andrew has been working on this. We've been right alongside him for about 8 months on this. And the Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act, the same bill is working through the Senate right now. The Senate File 143, Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act 2. Okay. And so they're working together, and the Senate file actually passed the Education Committee 4-1 a couple days ago, and so is moving forward and looking very promising. So what does this bill say? What does it do? An education savings account actually sets up an entire structure where parents can receive funds to send their children to the school of their choice. Okay, so the money follows the student. The money follows the students. This is the bill, and this is the one. So do you think it could possibly even pass this year? We're working on it. So again, I keep telling people we're fighting, we're working hard, we're trying to make sure that people know the situation. Right. We're getting all the data we possibly can from across the state where education funding is going now. Yeah. We have found the one spot in Wyoming's budget that actually is the right spot to select the money from. Okay. Is around $30 million is what would be set aside to do this program across the state of Wyoming, which is just a drop in the bucket compared to the $1.8 billion spent for education total. But that would make a big difference for schools. In Wyoming? $1.8 billion. Yes, sir. Is that right? And I'm telling you, this could change a lot of things. That's a lot of money. Wow. And what we're talking about here is giving parents options. Yes. In their children's education. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, bless you, because I mean that is the lifeblood of a Christian school for sure. That's right. I mean we charge about $5,000 per student, and it's just there's no way we can even remotely keep up with the pace of hiring teachers. Yes, at that level. Absolutely. Yeah. So, here's one that'll thrill you. This one's called, and we spoke on this one early, simply called Parental Rights in Education. Okay. Senate File 117. And basically what it's saying that this, sadly, in Florida, when they just were asserting parental rights in education, the Disney Corporation and other groups tried to attack this legislation and called it Don't Say Gay. That isn't true. What this is literally is it asserts that, especially, and this is just talking about from 3rd grade and down. Yes. That when it comes to your identity, that you need to have those conversations with your parents not some sort of individual at a school who's trying to indoctrinate a child in a different way. So I know that Florida said 3rd grade and down. Is that what this bill is? Third grade and down? Same one. Same deal. Same deal. Wow. It doesn't matter that it doesn't, it's not saying that the conversation doesn't matter in 4th grade. Yeah. It's just drawing a line in the sand somewhere and saying, listen. Let's protect the innocence of this group of people. Absolutely. Okay, so we're, just a bigger question. So if we want to track these bills, can we go to the website, your website? Yes, if you go to wyomingfamily.org, we have a tab up at the top. It's the legislation tab. When you click on that tab, it'll take you to a page that'll show you the session schedule, the meeting schedules, and you can actually kind of track where everything is. and then you'll see a box that says bills we're actively supporting, and it just gives you that little helpful reference as to where it is in the process.
Okay.
And right now, there's one bill we're actively opposing, abortion amendments. It's one that actually promotes abortion.
Is there any pictures of Nathan on there with his camel hair coat? Nothing?
Well, there are on Facebook and stuff, but we have a whole different team working on that, and they're trying their best to make it look good.
Is that right? Yeah, they got to
bless
get the
our
right
hearts.
angle, I'm sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
But
no, that's really good.
No, this will keep everybody
Yeah.
up to date. One of the things, though, is if you find one that's been lined out, it wasn't introduced, or somehow it died in the process.
What happened to that bill? Is Title IX. Remember that? You talked about that one a long time ago. Where's that at?
That's called Senate File 133. It's this year it's titled Student Eligibility in Interscholastic Sports.
Okay.
And so as of today, it has passed second reading in the Senate. So it was introduced in the Senate.
Okay.
And it's made it through this stage of the process. So it passed second reading. It'll go to third reading tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we believe strongly that it will be passed in the Senate.
Yeah.
Then it will go over to the House.
Okay.
And so,
That's really good. Any others that are you're keeping score of that you want to talk about?
Yeah. So we have several.
I mean, since the Bills are out, they're not going to the Super Bowl. We got to keep track of all these things.
Really? Is that what it is? I love it, man.
I'm kidding you.
This year's been wild.
This is way more important. I just happened to throw that in. Just
Right.
a cultural reference.
We need new bills to be excited about it.
Oh, man. He got that one in.
I just got it.
I don't know what was more fun, watching your reaction or your delayed
We
reaction.
need new bills to be excited about. Casey, that's one for the record books right there.
That's
brother.
good, man.
Hall of Famer right there.
No, there was another one. It seems like such a basic idea that was presented in the House of Representatives, but really what it allows for is for parents, if they want to homeschool, we had a provision in the law that made it where if you wanted to homeschool, you couldn't allow your neighbor. For instance, if you had, say you're out on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, and you had two people that live side by side way out in the distance, that one mom couldn't teach all the kids while the other mom went to go to the store or something.
Okay.
And so that
Eliminated the cottage kind of thing. Remember that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what this
Interesting. I didn't
does
know
is
that.
actually helps Wyoming families. If I think what it does is there was an amendment that was brought that limits it to like no more than 5 families.
Gotcha.
That's
fine.
Help most people.
Sure.
But it basically allows homeschools to have a better opportunity to really meet the needs of their kids.
Man, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So
That's really good. Those are a lot.
there's a lot of good things going on.
Okay, I've still got 1.8 billion stuck in my head.
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot of money spent on schools, on teachers. I mean, teachers are worth all that. So I don't know if the teachers are getting all this, but it's like, is that? Do you have a way to explain how that's being spent? And
Let me walk you through some statistics.
All right.
I'll try to walk through them in a way that makes a lot of sense to people. So what we did is we have what the standard is, for instance, in the United States of America. In the United States in the year 2018 to 2019, $15,034 was spent per pupil across the nation. That's the median average there. In Wyoming, it was $18,176. Now, we're just pulling 2 counties just so that we can show it. We'll have the data for everyone else eventually. We're working on it right now. But in Pinedale, it was $19,348 per pupil
now,
spent.
what years are you talking about?
This is 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And we're moving through some of these things, and
it's
we're trying
gonna-
to get more data.
Gotcha. More closer.
In Big Piney, Wyoming, it was $24,296.
Wow.
Now,
Big
obviously,
Piney, is that why does Big Piney get 24,000? The rest of the world?
well,
gets
there were
18?
4 court cases. One was called the Washakie decision, and it was pretty good. But then there were 3 subsequent cases called the Campbell decisions, Campbell's 1, 2, and 3. And Campbell is just the first name and a big, long name of plaintiffs that came to sue the state of Wyoming to get money for their local school district.
Okay.
but they're called the Campbell decisions. And what it demands is equity in education, regardless of where you are. So if you're offering a whole bunch of different things to a student in Cheyenne or Casper, you must also offer it to all the students in Big Piney, Wyoming.
And it may cost a lot of money to make that happen in a small community. Got it. That makes sense.
Here's the thing. When we look at that, the funding and where we are, you look at the per student spending increases. They have been large nationally, but very large, for instance, in Pinedale and Big Piney. So when we go backwards and we look at where we were in 1994, 1995, in the United States across the nation, we were at $6,700. In 2019, we're at $15,000. Wow. In Wyoming, it was $6,300. And then in 2019, it was $18,176, beating the national average big time. Wow. In Pinedale, it went from $6,400 to $19,300. In Big Piney, $8,400 to $24,296. So we're watching is actually whatever the effects are, they're magnified in Wyoming. And I'm watching, I'm looking at this almost at the same time for the first time as you are. So we're looking at this together. So when we look at the per student spending increase in Wyoming, it far exceeded the national cost. But what's so interesting is when we ask the question, where did the money go? We start to dig into these numbers. There was a staffing surge. For instance, we'll use this as an example in the Pinedale Public School District. From 1992 to 93 to the years 2020 and 2021. So that's the most recent data we can get.
All right.
The number of students increased by 73%. The total staff, though, increased by 97%. 73, 97.
Yeah.
The number of teachers increased by 116%.
Wow.
And all other staff increased by 83%.
So when you say staff, you're just talking about support staff, principals, all that kind of staff.
Right. So students increased by 73%. And total staff increase was 97%.
97, yeah.
So you look at that, that's something's happening here.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Big Piney Public School District. This is intriguing. From 1992 and 93 to 2020 and 2021, the number of students decreased by 26%.
Oh, wow.
The total number of staff went up by 2%. The number of teachers went down by 8%, but all other staff rose by 14%.
Wow.
So when you start looking at that, you think
is that
something's
specialty,
happened.
like specialty staff? Why would that go? Why would the teachers go down and staff go up?
There's been a lot of questions as to why that's occurring, and a lot of it is government getting more and more involved with education and demanding more and more reporting and a lot of other things.
Gotcha. All right.
And so what was happening is the administrative overburden.
Almost
if we could
office
borrow
staff, you could say.
Right.
Okay.
I like to do this because it borrows a term from the energy industry. There is an administrative overburden that is starting to burden schools down.
Yeah.
And it's not helping us at all. And so when we look at all of this, some of these are statistics that I haven't had a chance to really go through just yet, but it is intriguing when we watch how much money is being spent. So what we're doing with this education savings account is literally we're offering about $6,000 per pupil to go to the school of their choice.
So $6,000 will follow the student if this bill passes. That's pretty significant.
That is, for my children are in a Christian school in town, and it cost a lot of money. It costs more than $6,000, overall to send them, but it certainly would not only help us with sending our children to school. A lot of these smaller private schools right now are doing everything they possibly can. There are people that are not losing money, but almost losing money just because it's a mission, is a desire for them to go and teach children.
Well, who's losing? I can tell you this one, because we have a Christian school right here in our church, and it's just we can't pay the teachers the dollars that they that they deserve.
Right.
It's they are truly office staff, principals, all that. I mean, it's way diminished compared to the rest of the world.
Right.
So they have to have a real heart and desire to serve the community in our church community in this way. And they do a phenomenal job, but it's like to be able to pay them even closer to what they, what the rest of the world pays would be, that'd be wonderful.
Well, what I'm asking people to do is come to our website, wyomingfamily.org, and follow these bills.
Yeah.
Really pay close attention to them, because in reality, what we're looking at here is not just the 2023 legislative session. If some of these things can pass, it will be so good for generations of Wyoming citizens.
For sure.
And that's really what we're talking about. I was talking about this with a group of people. We're working on putting up a building and doing some things educationally. And I said, sometimes we get lost in building the building. At the end of the day, we're building a generation.
Yeah.
And that's what drives me forward.
Yeah.
And so I want all of these things to be done and done well. But done well because what we're doing is long after we're all gone, long after we're in eternity, the things that we're doing now will still matter.
Yeah.
And that's where I really want people to pay attention, come alongside, contact their legislator, and we'll be there to help them.
Well, we want to thank you for paying attention, because
Yes, sir.
there's no way we'd have our lenses focused on what's going on inside of the Senate or the House or these committees, unless your group is, you and your group are the ones that are making that possible. So thank you.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for coming out of the crazy into our studio and give us a little
Amen.
update of what's going on. So
Anytime.
God bless you, man. So as you go in your life, I hope that you are strong and very courageous. God bless you guys.